I am Sean Michael Felix. I am a painter of glass, whether it's stained glass painting, gold leaf gilding, reverse glass painting. Glass is my canvas. I moved to Chicago about 9 years ago. I grew up on the south side in the suburbs, more or less. Yeah, I came to Chicago because, the artistic work is more prevalent here. I wanted to go beyond regular sign painting, so I had to dress up my studio to make it look really special. I did have a mentor, a good friend of mine named Robert Fries. We call him the Gold Father, and he kind of introduced me to gold leaf lettering. I'm predominantly self-taught from there. You develop your own styles and everything like that, but I think Robert was a major influence. I used to see Robert's work in Signcraft magazine when I was a young aspiring sign painter, and I always liked the more decorative aspect of gold leaf sign work. I studied that a lot, and he was the premier Chicago gold leaf artist at the time. I have the privilege to do a storefront for Red Hot Annie, the premier burlesque performer in Chicago, and she has a storefront, and she has given me carte blanche to make a riotous storefront for her, and I'm really looking forward to that. I decided on a vintage Victorian look for the logo to stay true to the 19th century roots of both burlesque and my style of sign painting. We're both old school art forms, but with contemporary twists. Once the penciled concepts for the design are finished, I make digital layouts and I plot them on a film for application to the window. There were a lot of artists from England whose work I admired, and I tried to emulate that old school Victorian feel, What I like about the turn of the century, late 19th, early 20th century art is the ornamentation, the decorativeness, the scroll work, the filigree. Postmodernism comes along, and who's that architect that said ornament is crime? I hate that guy. I'm drawn in by craftsmanship. I'm drawn in by fine drawing, draughtsmanship, ornamentation, riotous use of color. I don't like minimalism. I'm a maximalist. People say less is more, sometimes more is more. I definitely start from someplace within and try to figure it out as I go along. No two jobs are ever alike, no two art pieces are ever alike. I think if I stick with one technique for too long, I get bored. So I tend to want to try different things a lot. I'm very experimental. Sometimes it comes rapidly. The ideas flow, you find your muse. Other times you struggle, And these are behind the scenes things that most of the clients don't know or really care about. Why, how is this font going to look in this color with this drop shadow? These are the things I torture myself over. and try to find, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. You just have to go with the flow. I have to say my ideal client are the small business entrepreneurs, the bakers, the small coffee shops, the tattoo parlors. And it's the young people that are doing this now. I have great respect because there's a great risk in creating a small business that isn't a cookie cutter type corporate entity. Those are my best clients, and luckily a lot of times they let me go nuts with what I do. What you see here is that I've already painted the black outline for the letters, and now I'm applying some varnish to create a textured effect that will give the gold leaf a two-toned look. The main part of the letters will have a burnished or mirrored look, and the varnish parts will give the gold a matte finish. Once the varnish gets slightly tacky, I remove the masking so that I can apply the gold leaf. I wanted the drop shadows on the letters to have a three-dimensional look, and pink seemed to be a natural fit for Vaudzilla's aesthetic. Oil-based enamel paints are ideal for projects like this because they're durable and they stick to glass better than other types of paints. In order to make the letters pop, as opposed to having a flat look, I decided to use two shades of pink and blend them together. I painted small sections at a time with both shades side by side, and I used a bristle brush to achieve the blending effect. Gold leaf is a pretty traditional medium. It has historical significance, and while I do like the historical aspects of it and I like the design historically, there's always modern ways you can put twists on things. Once upon a time, sign painters did everything by hand. Everything from pouncing patterns on paper to transferring to hand painting, to hand lettering, hand drawing, making renditions. I use a computer now sometimes to do layouts and things, and it takes the mundane aspects out of design, and it allows you to more freedom to be a little more creative, I think. Gold leaf is a wonderful medium. It sparkles, it shines. In the days before electricity, storefronts were within walking distance. People walked along storefronts, and then you saw your reflection in the lettering. You saw the street come alive. The lettering looked like a jewel tone that sparkled on the streets. The light played on the gold. Light is important in gold leaf work the way I assume it is in photography, in cameras. It is alive. It reflects everything like a mirror surface. When I got interested in this, the interest was waning. Nobody really cared about hand-painted work, gold leaf signs, vinyl graphics came in, everything was digitized. Now it's coming back in a big way, and people see the value of something made by hand by them. Hundreds of years ago, we had exploited immigrants and craftspeople that got paid very little to do this because labor was so cheap. So now we have to find that niche where we get paid what we're worth, but still provides an excellent value to our clients. My best attribute as an artist, I would like to say, is versatility. And it's because I've done a lot of different things for a lot of different clients. No two clients are ever alike. No two processes are ever alike. I like history, so I enjoy Art Nouveau, Art Deco, the Victorian era. I look at a lot of my work in a historical perspective. Even though I don't do a lot of abstract art, I have done work like that to appease a particular client. And that takes you on a totally different journey sometimes. Glass gilding starts with a gelatin and water mixture known as a size. The gelatin works as an adhesive when the size is brushed onto the glass. For the gilding, I use a 23-karat gold leaf that I apply with a gilder's tip. It takes skill and practice to handle the gold leaf, as it is a very delicate material. Additionally, you have to cut the pieces efficiently so that you don't use more than you have to for a particular area. This stuff is expensive. Now that it's dry, the matte and burnished finishes become apparent. I've always liked using Blue Power abalone for detail work, and in this particular case, I thought it would provide a nice highlight to the golden pink of this design. The material comes in sheets that can be cut and glued in place with a standard high-strength glue. The burnishing pad cleans up the wrinkles and excess gold and polishes it to achieve the mirrored finish. The black backup paint serves two purposes. It seals the gold leaf in place and gives the interior a clean look. The pool cue is what I use for a maul stick, which steadies my hand as I paint. Usually art for pleasure is a combination of different techniques that I do in the commercial aspects of the art. Instead of painting a sign, what if I painted this big florid illustration? What if I did some old school mermaid or something like that? I mean, that's kind of how that evolves. And I'm a little bit of a process junkie, so I'm always trying to try new techniques. And what if we combine gold with abalone shell or mother of pearl or something like that, I don't like to have a set way of doing things. And even with tradition, there's tradition out there and there's a lot of traditionalist people, but I like to mix it up. I like to change things around. I think we rebel against our parents' generation, but we think our grandparents' generation is kind of cool. I grew up with the Formica furniture and the starburst clock and everything like that. My grandparents had all this beautiful carved oak stuff, and that's what I like. My son probably hates what I do. I think small business entrepreneurship is a rebellion in itself. We're all at odds trying to make our own little mark in the world, and huge companies, they get the tax credits, they get all the benefits and everything like that. We're just struggling to do the little thing that we do, and I admire that, and I want to keep that going. I don't want to see everything be corporatized and made into a big box business. Doing the illustration of Annie posed some challenges because the painting has to be done in reverse. I wanted to have as much information in front of me as I can, so I'll use a photo that's been mirrored, which helps me look at the image in the same way that I'm painting it. I'm also trying to achieve a graphic effect, not a photographic effect. So I plan and mix my paint colors in advance. I start with the highlights and I work towards the darker tones. After making the black outlines, I did all of the white highlights first. The eyes, the tip of the nose, the lips, the cheekbones. From there, I moved to gradually darker skin tones, and I followed a similar process for her hair. I wanted to use this iconic pinup image of Annie with a Valentine's heart because it captures the spirit of the tease. Plus, my birthday's on Valentine's Day, so that adds a personal touch to this project. I had a client that commissioned me to do some stained glass windows for her front yard. They were building a road and in her front yard, and it was ruining the view, and she wanted to bring her flowers from the back garden incorporated into these stained glass windows. I did that for her, and I found that she burst into tears when I was finished. I was kind of humbled by that, but her flowers were everything to her. So it was humbling. It was very, very interesting. People have so many different emotional reactions to things. You don't think of painting and drawing as something that could evoke an emotional response to somebody. So when it happens, it's very touching. The most rewarding aspect of creating art to me is the sense that maybe you'll go down in history somehow, that there'll be a permanence there long after you're gone. Even if it ends up in a flea market, I'm okay with that. I did some restoration work in a very old church in Chicago here, and we were taking down a window, and I saw up where the window was installed, a Polish worker by the name of Piotr Kozlowski, I think. I may have gotten the name wrong. He carved his name in 1904 in the windowsill, and I thought, that is so cool. I feel that I am successful because I'm actually making a living doing what I want to do. I'm not beholden to a corporate timetable. Yeah, I have different customers I have to please, and some are more difficult than others. But I'm fortunate that I get to do this and actually make a living at it. So many of us are punching a clock or stuck in a 9-to-5 location that they don't care for. I'm willing to work 200 hours a week so that I can do it my own way. I worked as a cabinet maker in a previous life. I was an art director for a stained glass studio. It's all an evolution of different styles and things that I did just trying to make a living as a young man. Now that I'm an old man, it's all coming together. I'm very proud of this piece, and I found it fulfilling because I wanted to do something bright and colorful that went beyond just sign painting. It also allowed me to express my personal artistic creed, more is more. You won't see another sign like this anywhere in Chicago, so stop by and see it in person. And thanks for letting me share a part of my world with you.